go ahead and start.
Thank you very much. Can y'all hear me? My name is Boyd Sturgis, and I'm a lawyer here in Louisburg, and I've lived in Louisburg my whole life. And I have decided that I'm going to run for mayor because, quite frankly, the town has got some chaos. We have been 2 years without audits, which are very important for the state to allow us to operate. We don't have an answer as to where large sums of money have been spent. And it is my opinion that citizens and the taxpayers have the right to know within a pretty close amount of money where all the money is being spent. And there's frankly not a real good excuse to not have audits. That's a baseline matter for any town. The other thing that I think is important is that for 20, 30 years, Louisburg was on a very positive upward swing in terms of growth, in terms of doing things that for a small town where we were punching above our weight. And bluntly, in the last 4 years, that development, that forward progress has stopped. The Depot Hill project, for instance, there was money given from the General Assembly to make that work, and nothing's happened in 4 years. We've had problems with how are you going to pay employees. They went from paying them every week to then every month, which for a lot of folks isn't a big deal, but for folks who are not able to, don't have a lot of money, that's a huge issue. And quite frankly, it was sprung upon the employees. And that shows a lack of order. And so at the end of the day, I think Louisburg is the greatest place on earth. And I think that I, as a mayor, will be able to help get the financial house back in order. We'll have timely audits. We'll be able to tell where money goes and where it doesn't go. And I think I'll be able to help jumpstart the Depot Hill. I think we'll be able to get development on both the north and south side of the town. Because frankly, as they say, the high tide rises all the boats. You can't have prosperity if everybody is not enjoying it. And again, it's my pleasure to be here, and I thank y'all very much.
Good evening. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I want to share with you my vision for the future of Louisburg. Now, I call it the Louisburg Promise. It's a bold plan for affordable homes, thriving businesses, safer neighborhoods, and a future where everyone belongs. See, Louisburg is at its strength. A small town with a rich history, big ambitions for the future. The Louisburg Promise is a plan, our future, for a comprehensive roadmap designed to ensure smart growth, opportunities for abundance, and every resident has a place to call home. Now, this is a forward-looking plan with measurable goals. My plan covers 4 pillars: economic vitality and growth, community safety and quality of life, infrastructure modernization, and education and community engagement. Now, for the economic and quality of life, it's revitalizing Main Street, making housing more affordable, and creating new businesses and opportunities. Community safety and quality of life. This is enhancing public safety, expanding our parks, investing in health and environmental stewardship, infrastructure, and modernization. That's building better streets for our community. We have a big project that we want to continue that was started for Louisburg College. And as we go on, I'll elaborate what happened with that. Education and community engagement. Empowering our students. Fostering workforce skills. And celebrating the town's heritage and diversity. With clear timeless accountability and funding strategy that protects our taxpayers, the Louisburg Promise is more than a vision. It's a contract for every resident to build a thriving and inclusive and resilient future. This is my promise to the citizens of Louisburg.
Introduce the rest of the panel. It is now their time to ask some questions. And sitting on my right is Irving Doyle. He is a lifetime Franklin County resident and works in Henderson with the Code Department. And next to me is Ms. Miltrain Newell, and she sort of got drafted in tonight, but she's wonderful and she'll ask some really good questions, we know. Miltrain is in Louisburg and is a lifetime resident of Franklin County. So let's welcome both of them, please, if you will. With the panel questions, Ernie, we'll start with you.
Good evening to everyone on tonight. Question for both candidates. North Carolina House Bill 183, the North Carolina law from the 2025-2026 session. It includes a provision specifically for Louisburg, requiring a runoff election for the mayoral race if no candidate receives a majority of the vote. Previously, we used a plurality system, where the candidate with the most votes won, regardless of whether they secured over 50%. This provision was added as a surprise amendment and has faced opposition from local officials and residents who argue it unfairly targets the town. The bill also includes other provisions unrelated to Louisburg, such as regulations on wake surfing and authorization of community college constructions in other counties. What are your thoughts about this House bill?
Thank you. I'll be honest, whatever the rules are, I'm going to play by it. The legislature, of course, can control how elections are held, and if the rules say that you got to win by 50%, more than 50%, then that's how I'll do it. And if the rules say that it's plurality, they can't ever do that, then I'll do that. So essentially, I'm just going to play by whatever book is given me, and I'm going to play by the rules as I know Mr. Mayor Neal will, and that's what I'm going to do.
I too will play by these rules. However, let me explain to you how we got here. You see, this bill placed an unwanted burden on you as citizens. For over 50-some years, the rule was that we had a plurality form of government, in which the candidate with the most votes win. Now, This rule, which is now a bill, happened to come about at a time when you were asleep, when all of us were asleep. And it was sprung on us the very next day. Of course, we'll play by the rules, but my question is, how can a bill that was nowhere in sight come along and just affect Louisburg? Rules didn't change for Franklinton. The rules did not change for Bun, and that rule did not change for Young. It changed for Louisburg. Why did it not change for the other municipalities? This is something that you need to ask yourself. And also, it put an undue burden on the town of Louisburg. We are both conscious about taxpayers' money. This town will now have to pay for this election coming up in October, in which this rule change precipitated. This town will have to pay for the election that will come up in November as well. So, we as taxpayers, you, me, and other citizens of Louisburg will have to take this bill. That is something that we should be very concerned about. We should be concerned about taxpayers' money. I am. And you should be too, and I'm sure you are. This bill calls this to happen. Put you in this predicament. Now, another person as it relates to this bill. Why? Why? A lot of you have thoughts as to why. I have thoughts as to why. But the reality is that transparency, and that is one of the things that my opponent said that you care about. You care about transparency and competence. Do you think this bill was transparent? These are things that you have to ask yourself. Do you think it is good to govern from day one in a non-transparent situation? So, think about this. Transparency. This was a non-transparent bill. Of course, I will play by the rules as well.
Five years ago, in 2020, there was a report showing that 24% of the county residents were housing cost burden. Housing disparity is what I call it. Meaning that they spent 30% or more for the housing income, because I know that figure is not up to par. It's higher than that, I do believe. The report was known as the Franklin County Economics Snapshot, published by the North Carolina Justice System. The report also showed that 41% of the renters experience unaffordable rent, meaning that they cannot afford to pay their rent. I know because I have one house over on the south side. That house, when it's up to, they know when somebody's out moving, I have 15 to 16 people calling me wanting to rent that one particular house. Something needs to be done, something has to be done about this issue. The report also had that was taken 5 years ago, and we we know it's worse than that now. And my question, Mr. Neal, you addressed how you want to handle the housing disparity. Mr. Boyd, could you explain, you didn't tell us anything in your platform, how do you think that you could help this problem?
Sure, but isn't it fair to let each of us answer second?
Well, he already mentioned in his.
I don't think he did.
Okay, that's fine.
Yes, I mentioned that housing, affordable housing, is one of the priorities that I will be doing in my next administration. And by the way, let me just say this. Last Thursday, the town consummated a deal for $150,000 for a land sale on the south side of Louisburg that came into our coffers to a developer that will be building energy efficient houses for moderate income families. Now, in order to ascertain this and to help these citizens to get into that, I propose that we establish a program for first-time home buyers that will give them a subsidy of $15,000 to get into a home for the first time. Also, it will work to help seniors as well. These are the things and programs that we look at and will be looking at in the future to eliminate, the rental, making it easier for people who are renting, and the amount of money that they are paying for rent can easily be used to pay mortgages. This is a vision of mine, and these are attainable goals. We can do this. We also have put in place in our last budget session a position for an economic grant writer. This person will have full responsibility of seeking out grants to help citizens get into new homes. Thank you.
Well, respectfully, this administration's had 4 years to do this, and they haven't done anything about the housing issues. And you can't give $15,000 grants if you don't have audits, because the state won't let you give out money like that. So you can't do these things if you don't have transparent finances. If you can't explain where the money is, where the money goes. And you certainly have to have audits before you can do anything. But if I'm elected mayor, I believe there's certain things you can do. For instance, there are first-time home buyer things. There are things that you can help to help people to get their credit pulled up. There are ways to get people from being renters to being homeowners. And that is, of course, a goal for a whole lot of people. But these are things that could have been started 4 years ago. And I assure you, if I'm the mayor, we're going to not only say it, but we're going to do it. But the first thing we're going to have to do is get audits done, have people explain what's happened to all the money, and what's happened to all the grant money, for instance, for Depot here. And once those things are done, then we will be able to look at things to try to help encourage home ownership for moderate income people. Because I agree that that is a very important thing for the town of Louisburg. And I believe it is attainable. But you can't do it until you can explain where the money is. And that's the first thing that I will do if I'm elected mayor, is we're going to have a comprehensive audit, and we're going to make sure we can tell all the taxpayers and all the people what's happened to the money and where the money is and where the money is going to be going. Thank you.
Okay, this is a question that I have. Let's just service. I ask you first. Okay, now in the town of Louisburg, certainly you find a lot of the children are at-risk youth, and which at some point some of them become court involved, and as they grow older, you know, they enter into the system. What kind of crime reduction, recidivism reduction do we have in place, programs to help the at-risk youth, recidivism reduction programs, and what kind of programs do you have in place for those who've been incarcerated to work them back in the community to become productive citizens?
Well, I'm not sure exactly what programs they have now. If they have programs, they have not been very well advertised. And again, that's been 4 years that such a thing could happen. Certainly, crime and the causes of crime and the cradle to the jail, as they say, is a state and national problem. It is an international problem. And certainly, Louisburg can do its bit to try to help that. But obviously, we have to do it in partnerships with both the county and the federal and the state government. And that's something that I frankly would go to Raleigh to try to help get grants, try to help do these kind of programs. I think that one thing that you can certainly do is encourage the churches, the nonprofits such as the Boys and Girls Clubs. There are ways that a town can help augment that. They certainly can't do it all because, again, it's not just a town problem, it is a national problem. But certainly, once we get our finances straight, once we're back in a position where when we go to Raleigh, they'll actually give us money, give us grants, then I think that those would be a strong priority for us to do.
Okay, so do you feel that it's imperative to have these in place? Do you feel that that is a problem and these programs are necessary to have in place?
I do, although I wasn't aware we were going to have follow-up questions. Is that what the rules are going to be?
Well, sir, I'm still asking questions. So
Well,
you can ask me.
yes, sir, but if that's how we're going to play it both ways, that's fine. But I believe that it was my understanding that wasn't what we were going to do, but I will certainly be glad to answer your question. Certainly, I don't know of a whole lot of programs now. Certainly, if they are, like I said, the general population doesn't know about that. But I would agree that you can sit there, the JPCP, which is the juvenile groups. Certainly the town could be more involved in those. That's a group that has everyone from the court system to law enforcement to various and sundry faith organizations and nonprofits that meet together to try to come together and help to tackle the issues of juveniles in and up in the criminal justice system. And I believe that a more robust ability for the town to encourage that back as a cheerleader, but also with our police, which are very excellent, they can help to not just protect us from crime, but to act as community policing, which our police, I would put them up against anybody in the state of North Carolina. They do a very excellent job of community police work, which is what I would call more of a peace officer than purely a law enforcement protector.
Thank you, sir. And just to help you, we actually, the rules were we could ask 2 questions, so I did mine simultaneously, so thank you.
Well, thank you.
Okay, the same question. Okay. What do you have in place as far as crime recidivism reduction for the citizens in Louisburg? As we know, the youth, they are at-risk youth, which is a breeding ground for them getting more court involved as they grow older. What kind of programs are there in place? Or what kind of programs do you plan to put in place?
Well, there are groups in Louisburg through our churches. One in particular, which I'm involved with, is called Men of Distinction. That group of men who reaches out to mentor other young men who are potential trouble people who may get into trouble. We try to reach them at an early age where they can be influenced to go into the right direction. That group is called Men of Distinction, and it's in existence now. There are other programs as well that are designed for people who come out of the penal system and transition back into the everyday life. That program met at St. Paul Presbyterian Church, sponsored by a group out of Raleigh, North Carolina, designed specifically to train for individuals who are coming out of the penal system to make it easier for them to get back into regular life. Like, for instance, they coach them on how to handle everyday situations. How to, when they come out of the penal system, they are on their own now. They're not having anyone telling them what to do. That's a big adjustment for individuals. You see? So therefore, when they come out, they have to have some training in how to do that. So there's a program that exists for that. But I would love to try to refer back to my opponent keeps talking about audit. First of all, these audits got behind because of the first auditor that we had for the town of Louisburg, who decided not to work for the town of Louisburg anymore. His organization became such that he could not handle the workload. However, audits keep going. And let me say, we're not in any trouble at all. And we are transparent about our finances. You can stream on all of our programs and see that. So let me just say to you, the town is not in any financial problem. Some would like for it to be that way, but it's not. I can elaborate further if any questions.
Okay, my question is, as you've hit on a lot of the things that I'm really having questions about, but in working with government, I would like to know your office, and I'll ask Mayor Neal first. How do you plan and how do you see working with nonprofits, non-GOs, and how that can help move the town of Louisburg forward?
I propose that we partner with other organizations as well. As I mentioned earlier, we will be hiring a grant writer, economic development person. That person in turn will help us in those areas that you just articulated. Vigorously seeking out these programs that will help these citizens to do exactly what you just said. Now, we know that we can't do this by ourselves. And we know that we can't do this, fund these programs by ourselves. So I have proposed that we partner with businesses, the county, as well as using town funds to get this. This can be done. These are measurable goals that can be achieved to do these things. So, we don't necessarily have to have town funds to do everything. There are other measures in which we could accomplish these goals.
Mr. Sturgis, the same question.
I think that the town, all government benefits from their relationships with faith-based organizations. We have some marvelous churches in Louisburg, and along with other things, as I've mentioned before, such as the Boys and Girls Club, as an example that springs to mind just immediately. Those are the kinds of things. Government isn't the answer to everything, but certainly having partnerships with churches, with nonprofits of that is something that should be encouraged. But I will take exception about the town not being in financial trouble, because in fact it is. The town cannot borrow any money from the state of North Carolina, not letting the town borrow any money right now. And that is a big problem. For instance, there are pieces of machinery, for instance, for the sewer plant, that the town's been having to rent to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars over the last year that they can't buy because they can't borrow the money, because the state won't let them borrow the money, because they don't have audits. So this is a problem, and it needs to be addressed. And I assure you that I will address it. And I assure you that if I'm the mayor, I'm not going to wait 4 years to start coming up with plans. We're going to start right away, and we're going to get our plans done. We're going to get ourselves out of this hole. We're going to start being able to have good relationships with Raleigh and other governmental groups, and we're going to make Louisburg back on track.
My other question, since you both have talked about the budgets and the audits and all these kind of things, is when did Louisburg have the last audit approved, signed off on, legitimate audit?
Of course, I'm not in government right now, so I don't know precisely, but it's my understanding that we're 2 audits behind. And so I would assume that prior to that, we do have audits. Again, these things are not very clear, and that is part of the problem. And again, the town can't tell us where the money is gone, where it is, and where it's supposed to go. I believe we're 2 audits behind.
Neil, same question.
Yes, to be transparent, we are 2 audits behind. However, we're vigorously working on those audits to bring the town up to date. Now, this is not a unique thing to Louisburg. There are other cities and municipalities that have gotten behind on their audits. And talking about, where is the money? The money is there. The funding for Depot Hill is still in place. However, let me just say this. When I got into office the first 2 years, we had a board that was very unfriendly, that stifled the Depot Hill project for whatever reason. They stopped it, did not want it to progress. Since that time, it was dormant. However, we are vigorously working to put that back on track. And that is going to happen. So, again, I will not allow someone to say that this town, under my leadership, has failed to do its job.
Thank you.
My final question to the candidates. It has been noted that the town of Louisburg is looking to revitalize the South Main Street corridor. The current city council has talked about developing residential areas and expanding industrial capacity. These initiatives are guided by the town's comprehensive plan and supported by county-level infrastructure projects aimed at attracting new businesses and residents. What strategies will you implement to ensure investment is brought to Louisburg's south side without creating gentrification?
is the whole town. South side of Louisburg is growing. South side of Louisburg has been neglected for years and years. And now we are on the move, up and coming. See, if you were to visit Louisburg for the first time, and you're coming from the west, and you're coming from the southwest, and you put it in your GPS, and you're coming downtown Louisburg, or you're going up to Louisburg College, it brings you right down through South Main Street. Usually when you enter in someone's house, most likely you would go into their living room. That is the first room you see. And that is usually the best looking room in the house. South Main Street will become Louisburg's living room. And what we are doing now is, as it grows, we are creating programs, again, with various first-time home buyer programs. We are training and educating first-time home buyers to transition into homes. These are things that we can do. Now, to hold off gentrification, we must make citizens, create them, give them education in a way in which they can purchase these homes. You see, any race, any ethnicity can do this. That is one way of holding off gentrification. Instead of having renters, you have home buyers. Programs, federal programs, grants and things to move forward.
I agree that that's important. As I said earlier, you can't have a healthy town unless the whole town is prosperous. And the south side needs to prosper. And I believe that one of the best ways for it to prosper will be able, if you get the Depot Hill project back as it's supposed to be. That's going to help you jumpstart restaurants, things down that hill. For instance, back in the day, I believe Miss Johnson had a diner. There's all kinds of things that can happen, but you've got to get it started. Respectfully, the mayor talks about these programs, but there are no programs. The town doesn't have first-time home builder programs. The town cannot get grants right now from the state government to help implement anything because the town cannot show where their audits are, where their money is, and how they have been handling taxpayer money. Until then, it's just words. Until Louisburg gets its financial house in order, which it can do, then you can start to actually have acts and deeds, not just words. And at that point, there are ways that you can do it. But I would respectfully point out that these things haven't happened for the last 4 years. And therefore, I don't think they're going to happen in the next 4 years. But I assure you, if I'm elected mayor, they are going to happen. We are going to get our financial house in order. We are going to be able to explain where the money is. Thank you.
We know that there is a mental health crisis in this area, especially for young people. How would you support and strengthen the visibility and the partnerships needed for us to serve our community?
One thing that we'll be able to do with there was an opioid settlement that was settled both by the town and the county. This was a couple of years ago, and this is from when the Sackler family and other people poisoned our country for overdoing Oxycontin and other kinds of drugs. And it is a huge problem. And it's something that we've been having to deal with for a long time and we'll have to deal with going forward. There is money and there are grants and there are all kinds of things that we're entitled to do in partnership with the county that's already coming. But again, and I don't mean to harp on this, but the town can't do anything if they can't get grants. We can't afford by ourselves to handle all these societal problems by ourselves. But we can help be a part of it once we can get funding to help implement it. But again, you cannot get funding until other governments, the county, the state, and the national government won't give us any money. We won't qualify for any loans. We won't qualify for any grants unless we can show clean audits and explain where our money is. That is the key. Once that happens, and it will happen if I'm the mayor, then there are all kinds of programs that we can help to identify to work in lockstep with both our county partners, our state partners, and our national.
Yes, same question.
It seems like we are going back and forth about stuff in one place. And let me just simply be clear. When I first came into office, there were a board that was totally in opposition for it. This board kneecapped the town the very first time in firing the town administrator, which then put the town in an awkward situation because we had to go for a few months to even get a town administrator to set us back on that. And every recommendation that I made, see, Depot here was going along very smoothly. I believe my opponent got $700,000 from Matthew Richardson. I, in turn, got $750,000 from David Price.
Mayor,
Yeah.
excuse me, I'm sorry, but the question is, what about the mental health in our town, and what are your plans and thoughts on that?
Okay.
We'll have time to wrap up.
It goes back
I'm
to,
sorry.
excuse me, I just want to digress because I just cannot allow.
I know, but we're not doing rebuttal,
I understand.
and the question is, what are you going to do about mental health, and what are your thoughts on what we need in Louisburg for better mental health for our citizens?
First of all, we have to seek out these programs again to help in those areas. And besides, and protecting the taxpayers, other funding available which comes in through grants as well. Those are the things that we have to look at. Now, it says that we are in such a situation where we can't have those things because of the grants, because of the situation with the town. Not necessarily true. There are grants, both private grants that are not tied to governmental rules. You can just about find a grant for anything. Mental health is one. So we laser focus on finding grants and programs that will help in that.
Thank you so much. Okay, that is this part of the debate. So now we're going to open it up to the audience. And like I said, we're going to take 4 questions, and if you're directing it to both candidates, we would like each candidate to do 2 minutes to discuss the issue and please stay on topic to the question.
Okay. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Back to this round and round about the audit that you're talking about. Mayor Neal, how close are you to coming to getting that accomplished in your tenure, in your position?
We are finishing up the previous month's audit, 22-23, and we are in a position now in which the auditors are and will be giving a preliminary report showing our financial situation. So that will be coming about within the next month, that preliminary report. And all the time, while this was going on, the auditor continued to say to us and to you, there was no fraud, there was no corruption, and our finances at this state is still in good order. It's just like the finances are still there. And I have continued to bring money into our general fund. Most recently, $280,000 as a result of negotiations with Franklin County as it relates to this judicial complex.
Thank you, Mayor Neal. Thank you. Questions?
This will go to you, candidate. What is the relationship between the county commissioners and the town of Louisburg? And it can be, from Mr. Sturgis, it can be from a perception standpoint for you, and for Mayor Neal, it can be a reality standpoint for you.
And I'm afraid I don't exactly understand the question, but certainly if I'm the mayor, I'm going to work very hard with all of our partners to try to have the best outcomes so both the county and the town thrive. But I will point out that we don't have a clear picture of what our finances are. We don't have any audit for 2 years, and it appears that the audits aren't going to happen until after the election.
Mr. Sturgis, let's talk about the question.
Sure. Well, to answer your question, I will work hard to try to have good relationships with the county, but I don't think the county is going to be interested in having a good relationship with the town if the town can't show where their money is or where their money is going.
Thank you.
We have formulated a relationship with the county already, which is evident if you were to drive down West Nash Street. You will see steam shelters today, construction going on. That's as a result of our relationship with the county, our dealings with the county, which net again $280,000. Now, that was the original agreement that I understand was created by my opponent when he was serving in, some say, a conflict of interest as the county attorney as well as a member of the town council. That agreement initially, as we sought through it, potentially had the town on the hook for almost $400,000 in infrastructure where this complex is now being built. The town and the council went through this agreement again to the extent that the county was threatening the town that they would move this multi-million-dollar complex outside of the town of Louisburg if the town did not agree to what they wanted to do.
Mayor Hill, thank you. The question is, how do you see the relationship with our county commissioner board as it stands and the town of Louisburg?
I see the relationship between the county and the town pretty good right now.
Thank you.
And that's as a result of this agreement that we just made, that again brought $280,000 to the town.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you. This question is for both of you, and it is very, well, pardon my ignorance about this. We moved here last year from a big city where the mayor was basically a ribbon cutter. She would show up to events, but as far as I know, he didn't really do much other than be a figurehead. So my question to both of you is, how do you see the position of mayor from your, I guess, point of view, and to help us understand Louisburg?
Mayor Nick.
I see the position of mayor as a position of one of you, a regular citizen who goes out and interfaces with you, who meet and talk to you, who go to public events where you go as well. Friday nights on the top. Most recently, 9/11. I'm one of you. I talk to you. I listen to you. I formulate policy with the board, with the council, that benefits you. So, that's why I think it's different. And let me just say one other thing as well. My campaign address is in Louisburg, 822 Kendall Avenue. Not a post office box in Raleigh, North Carolina, where my opponent's post office box is. How can you be among the citizens when even your campaign address is out of town? Even when your contributions are from citizens out of town. My contributions come from local individuals, small contributions. I don't have big donors, who can finance my campaign. My loyalty lies with you.
I think your question is actually what the mayor's role is, not where a post office box for the county is. But to answer your specific question, basically, we have a manager-governed board in town. The manager runs the town. The mayor and the council elect 5 positions. Basically, the mayor, the clerk, the town attorney, the fire chief, and the police chief. It is not the role of the mayor or any council member to get down into the weeds of the county, of the town. That causes trouble. Frankly, there's several lawsuits now that the town has been sued on because the current mayor and the council have forgotten that very important job. We don't execute policy. We make policy. And then our job is to let the town manager and its department heads do their job. And I assure you that if I am elected mayor, that's going to be how it is. I'm not going to run the town. I'm going to lead the council in making sure that we have the right people in place to ensure that the town functions are back running, that the rules and all the different guardrails that we put in place over the last 30 years that have frankly not been there over the last 4 years are back in place. But I'm not going to be the town manager.
very disappointed. I thought a forum would represent the town, and there'd be some people here that already don't have their mind up. If there's anybody here whose mind has been changed, please be bold enough to raise your hand.
Do you have a question?
No, well, I want to make a statement. I don't have a question. Okay. Okay, so I'm shut down. I'll apologize.
We're trying our best to obey the rules, and the rules are, we will ask questions, we will get answers. That's the rule. Any other questions? And just so we can clear everything up, you were invited to participate in this forum tonight, is that correct?
Yes, I was.
Thank you.
But I kind of perceived how. I'm sorry.
So, now, any other questions? Okay, Mr. Best.
Good evening, candidates. As you know, I retired from the police department this past year. Over the last few years, there's been quite a lot of turnover, employee turnover at the town. And that's where my heart is with the employees that want to drive the ship. So I'd like for each of you just to talk a little bit about how you would address the turnover, constant turnover.
Mayor Nick. Am I off? I don't remember it. Mayor Nick, how about you answer that question?
Yes, I agree that we unfortunately had some turnover in key positions in the town of Louisburg. Most notably, our finance director. And then, on top of that, our town administrator. Now, that was done not of my doing, but of our former council, which threw the town into chaos, who caused delays to try to remedy them. All the time that was going on, the business of the town continued. So we were operating at a disadvantage. So you had to make up that difference. The finance director is one of the key positions in the town of Louisburg. When you have a vacancy there, then you have to make up that. So our town administrator now is serving double duty, being town administrator as well as finance director. So, with the town of business, the town kept going. It caused a ripple effect within the town of Louisburg. So these are things that are happening. You have a flat tire, you can't drive all the way to Raleigh with a flat tire on your car. That's how we were operating when I first came in. And I'm going to be quite frank with you. When I first took office, and the board that I had initially had it in their mind, and I stand by this, some thought that they would rather see the town of Louisburg fail than to see Chris Neal succeed.
Mayor, you're not answering the question.
That is part of what has happened, how we got behind on all of these places.
The question was, what do you plan to do for employee turnover?
Okay.
As well, thank you.
So some of you may,
Mayor Neal, you will have time to talk about that when we wrap up. Mr. Sturgis, would you like to answer the question?
I agree that the turnover has been a real problem. One of the great, we disagree about policy things that the council and the mayor have done over the last 30, 40 years. But you could not say that we didn't have the best employees and that we didn't have the best services. of any town our size. I would say the town's bigger than us. We held our own and we punched above our weight. But part of the problem is, for instance, as soon as this new administration came in, they went, as I mentioned before, they went from paying its employees every week to just out of the blue doing it every month. And they didn't give any notice to the employees. And that had a chilling effect on the morale and the ability to have employees think that it's a two-way street, that the town was going to look after the employees as the employees look after the town. Certainly, a mayor doesn't have the ability to control a lot of this by himself. But it is a mayor's job, if he is in the helm, if he is running the ship, if he is the first among equals, he's got to work with whatever council he has. And I assure you that when I'm the mayor, I'm going to be responsible for helping to make sure that council governs in a way that continues to make gets Louisburg back to being
Mr. Sturgis,
tomorrow's town.
you'll have time to tell us what you're going to do when you're mayor, when you wrap up. Okay? Thank you. All right. We've had 4 questions. Does anybody else have a question? Nobody? All right. Then we will let our candidates do the wrap up. Mr. Sturgis, since you went first in the beginning, Mayor Neal, you have 1 minute to wrap up.
First of all, I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight. And I hope that you would have seen the difference between the 2 candidates. And I hope, if you haven't made up your mind, that this forum will help you do so. Now, I gave you 4 pillars that I wanted to follow up on when I came up to you the first time. Those pillars, again, they haven't changed during the course of this debate. I am for you. My goals are for the citizens of Louisburg. Now, we have some unfinished business that we have to do. Depot Hill is one. Funds are still in the coffers for Depot Hill right now. We've gotten past that delay. Now we can move forward. We also, and let me just say another thing, we started a recreation program. We have a basketball court now. We have a STEM court, science, technology, engineering, math. Those things were there. And being transparent. I've been transparent with you. And the record will show that I pushed for the payroll being not to change. However, voted against it. So don't think I didn't have the citizens' interest at heart. Transparency. Everything I've done, everything we've done can be documented. Can go back through the records and you can see. None of that will change going forward. So, I ask that you consider to vote for Chris Neal again to lead the town forward on our unfinished projects. Lay aside your feelings that you may have, your prejudices. Put them aside and think about the whole town. My interest is with you. Thank you.
I too would like to thank the folks for coming out for this lovely event, for this forum. And certainly I think that Mayor Neal is a good man, he's a good Christian man. I I know for a personal fact that he is the best grandfather around. This is not about a personal thing. I think that I can do a better job as mayor. I think that I'll be able to get our financial house in order and actually have transparency. Transparency means having audits. Transparency means being able to tell somebody where the money is. By having that, then you're going to be able to get back to having grants and to be able to run this town again. I assure you that my goals are going to be to help economic development on both the north and the south side, to help get our employees' morale back up, and to help to get ourselves back in a position where we are able to compete with the Frankentons and the Youngsville's and the Bums, which I fear we're falling behind. And I also assure you and I promise you that in 4 years, I will have done those things. I won't be talking about doing the things that I promised at the start that I'm still now, and I fear that that is what Mayor Neal is doing. He hasn't accomplished the things he said. He says it's going to happen later. But I would argue that later isn't right. It needs to be now. So I would respectfully ask you to vote for me, and I thank you very much.
I would like to thank everybody that has been here, thank the candidates, thank the panel, and if you will allow me just 1 minute, because you know I am a nonprofit, I would like to make an announcement. Many of you may remember years before COVID, we had a community Thanksgiving dinner in Louisburg, and it was very well attended. I think Dr. Felicia Hardy, Mike Anderson, these were 2 of the people that pushed this program through. Last year, somebody came to me and said, why are we not doing this? So we are. Thanksgiving, there will be a Thanksgiving dinner at the college in the cafeteria, open to everybody. No tickets, no questions, no QR codes, no nothing. Just please